Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Today we're going to add another video to our collection of IELTS Task 2 writing lessons. Now, today we're going to actually break down the main paragraphs of a Task 2 essay. I've already created the question or placed the question here. So cars have changed the way we travel. However, some people believe that there are more disadvantages to it than advantages. It means the way we travel. What are the advantages and disadvantages of cars? So this is the question. What are the disadvantages and the advantages of cars? This sentence here, or these sentences here, give us an idea of the overall topic, because you can't just say what are the advantages and disadvantages. So it's talking about the way we travel. So you can incorporate this in, but the question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of travel? Sorry, of cars. Okay, so this question simply asks us to discuss the advantages and disadvantages. It does not ask for our opinion or say which is better or worse. So we should not include this information in our answer. It doesn't say what is your opinion or do you think or anything like that. So don't give your opinion unless it's asked for. Okay, so we have some pictures here. Pollution, car pollution or air pollution because of cars. People waiting at a bus stop. You'll see in a minute why that is relevant. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're not going to look at the introduction. This video is not about the introduction or the conclusion. It's about the two paragraphs, how we structure them, how we get a good paragraph that laid out that puts our points across. So we're going to deal with the first supporting paragraph, the advantages of cars. Topic sentence, the first advantage, or the advantage, because you only need one idea. Some people still have this, or some people are still being told, should I say, that you should have more than one idea. You do not need more than one idea per paragraph. One is enough. What it is, it's the development of that idea, which is what we're going to look at today. So this is our topic sentence. We point out what the advantage is. We explain why it's an advantage or how. Then we give an example. You should always give an example in your essay. You should always give an example. Then you create a summary sentence. You don't have to, but if possible, I would suggest you do, because it rounds off the paragraph nicely. It's kind of like a mini conclusion for that particular paragraph. As I said, it's not mandatory. You don't have to do it. It won't affect you, but I always say it's a good idea to put it in. And then we're going to hop over and do the next paragraph, which is we're going to lay out the disadvantage, explain why or how it's a disadvantage, again, provide another example, and if we can, summarize. I'll give you some summary sentences anyway, you will see. So we're not looking at the conclusion or the introduction. There are videos which cover both of these. So the first thing is we've got to understand the question. This is essential to your score. You may well write a very good essay. In your mind, you think, I've written a very good essay. But when you receive your score may be lower than you expected. Why? Possibly because you did not answer the correct question, or you answered the question, but you answered it incorrectly. So here are some examples of incorrect. You may talk about the merits of cars, the good things about cars. Since cars were invented, people can travel and carry goods. They can also play music while they drive, and they're not expensive. You can get in your car and travel where you want to. These are good things about cars, or some good things, but they're not advantages. Advantages have to be things that are better than the opposite of disadvantage. Remember, there must always be, it's better than this. It's better than this. You've always got to think of it's a comparison. So this merits of cars is not comparing cars to anything. So that wouldn't give you a good score because you're not answering the question. The history of cars. Cars have been around for many years. They were first used to transport people over long distances and also to carry more people. Later on, they became faster and more comfortable. Neither of these two addresses the question. The advantages of having cars compared to not having cars. That's what you're answering. So you must bear this in mind. And the reason I have given these two answers is because I have seen many similar essays, not necessarily on this topic, although these two answers I've seen very similar answers in the past. So, because as a non-speaker of English, sometimes it's more difficult to understand exactly what you're required to do. This is why I'm giving you this example. Look at the question carefully. Make sure you fully understand it. That comes through practice. Practice again and again. Read essays, read essay titles. Make sure you know what you're supposed to answer. Okay, let's move on. So, begin by creating your ideas for each side, advantages, disadvantages. This is something that must be practiced, researched. We, as teachers, can suggest things and give you ideas, but you also have to learn to generate your own ideas, because once you're in the exam room, you are on your own. And the only way that you can come up with good ideas in the exam is by practicing. So I've made a simple breakdown into reasons. One is, it's better to have cars because. What that means, it's better to have cars than not have cars, but we don't have to say not have cars. We understand that. It's better not to have cars because. So each sentence means we're comparing having cars with not having cars, or not having cars with having cars, because that's what we're doing exactly. Some ideas. Cars cut down travel time. More comfortable. Enable us to carry things more conveniently. A status symbol to improve our social status. Some people might not think that's an advantage. Some people will. Remember, these are ideas. Writing down ideas, you can write down anything. It doesn't mean you must use them. If you write down half a dozen ideas and you look at some of them and think, oh my God, they're not very good, you just put a line through them and don't use them. It's about coming up with the ideas, looking through them, and removing the ones that on the second look you decide, no, that's not a very good idea. So this is what I've done. Number 4 is not an idea that I would use, but it's an idea. So I've put it in my list. It's better not to have cars because they are expensive to run. They cause pollution, or causes pollution. It should be cause pollution. More roads and highways needed. If we don't have cars, we don't need so many roads and highways. More parking space needed. Okay, so there are 4 ideas to each side. Now we have to look at each one and decide which ideas we can develop in the best way. An idea may be good, but if you cannot develop it adequately, then it is no good to you. Take time, look at each idea from both sides and decide. Again, this is what you're doing when you're practicing. So when you get to the exam, you won't have that long. You'll only have a few minutes to do this. So develop these skills in your practice time. So we're going to choose travel time and pollution. For me, I think they're the two easiest to develop. So, following our model, we should develop our paragraphs as follows. One main advantage of cars is that they cut down travel time. There's my topic sentence. This tells the examiner what this paragraph will be about. It will be on why cars cut down travel time. Now, we move on. A reason for this is that using, oh gosh, mistyped that. Using public transport requires us to go to either a bus stop, train station, or bus station. Or for taxis, we have to arrange it to come to our location, all of which take time. So what we're really saying is when we have a car, we can just jump into our car and go. We don't have to walk to a train station or go to a bus station or do something that's time consuming that extends the time of our journey. Okay, remember this essay is a basic sentence. I'm not writing an essay for you. I'm giving you the ideas. I'm giving you the structure. So also I'm giving you a rough word count, which is also important for you to manage your word count. So this sentence or these sentences here give the examiner the reason for your topic sentence. I said this. This is the reason why I said this. For example, studies show that a higher percentage of employed people who drive to work arrive punctually compared to those who use public transport. So this is not a real statistic. I just made this up. You don't need real statistics. You need to put them in the form that show that they are an example. It can be completely false. It does not matter. I don't know if this is true. It doesn't matter. But it looks like it's a good example sentence. If someone read this, they could think, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that because it looks like an example. So this is giving the examiner a working example to support this. Okay, this sentence supports this. This sentence supports this. Your conclusion, which is next, your summary, sorry. Therefore, it is clear that travel time saved is a main benefit of cars. Okay. As I said before, you don't have to have a summary sentence, but I think it adds to the essay. And I think it will increase your score because it kind of reflects all of this as a simple reiteration. So this sentence sums up the previous sentences and reiterates the point. So altogether, I've added these to make it 91 words. 80 to 90 words for each paragraph is a good target to look at. If you go over or under, it doesn't matter. Sorry, if you go over, it doesn't matter. Try not to go too much under because that means your conclusion and your introduction will have to be longer to make you hit that minimum of 250. If you do roughly 90 words per paragraph, it gives you 70 words for your introduction and your conclusion, which is plenty because your introduction could be 30 words on its own. Sorry, the title could be 20 to 30 words on its own. Plus, you have to write your thesis statement and your outline statement. So, and then your conclusion could be 20 to 30 words also. So, I think you have plenty there. Okay, so as you can see from the 4 parts of the previous paragraph, the topic and summary sentences are shorter. Keep your topic sentences shorter and to the point. Your objective is to tell the examiner what the paragraph is about in your topic sentence. That's all you need to do. Don't develop it into 3 or 4 sentences. Make it clear. You don't want to confuse the examiner. If they want to, they're going to read it and say, ah, right, that's what this paragraph is about. So they already know. When they read it, the points that you follow it up with should complement the topic sentence. So keep the topic sentence very simple, very clear. You should focus on developing reason and example sentences. That's where the development into complex sentences. You always hear from teachers and books and websites, complex sentences. This is the place to make your sentences more complex. Don't do it throughout the essay. Doing it throughout the essay will not get you a higher score, especially when it's not necessary. If you don't need to make if your sentence is complicated, don't do it. Do it where you should. And in the middle of your paragraph is where you should do it. Okay. So now we repeat this for the next paragraph. By contrast, and now this tells me that it's going to be the opposite view, there is also a primary drawback, which is pollution. Remember, we don't need to say primary drawback for cars because we've already said the advantages of cars and we know what the essay is about. So we don't need to repeat the word for cars here. Again, this tells the examiner that the paragraph will talk about pollution by cars. Because cars have petrol and diesel engines, they require gasoline to run. The downside is that the gasoline, once burned, is emitted into the atmosphere, causing the air to be polluted. This has a detrimental effect on both people and the environment. So this is supporting this sentence. It's a drawback, a disadvantage because of this. This supports our topic sentence, tells us why we wrote the topic sentence. So this supports this. Government statistics show that as the number of cars increases, there is a drastic increase in the levels of air pollution, especially in towns and cities. This also supports this. Government statistics, that tells us that there is some kind of report, some kind of figures in a document. That is an example. You don't always need to say, for example. Something like this tells us that it's a real example that the government has produced. Again, it's not real, make it up. If you have real examples, that's fine, but if you don't, make them up. So this is a solid example to further support our topic sentence. Thus, we can see that cars pose a threat to the quality of air, and this is a definite downside. So again, we are reiterating, these points and summarizing with a mini conclusion. Again, 98 words per the paragraph, which is roughly within our 80, 90 or more zone. So our final assessment. As we can see in the 2 paragraphs produced, the structure is very basic, but it's reliable. This is a very reliable structure. Most good institutes or teachers should be teaching this structure because for me it's the #1 structure because you should not deviate from it. Every task 2 essay you write should follow this pattern. The only thing that changes is the topic. The main scoring benefit of a paragraph is the development of it. This is paramount. The examiner is looking to see how you develop your points and how each point follows the previous one in a logical order. If you remember, I showed you each subsequent sentence follows or supports the topic sentence. And The reason is why. The reason is why we wrote the topic sentence. The example is why is an example of why we wrote the topic sentence. And the summary is a conclusion of why we wrote the topic sentence. So everything points back to the topic sentence in order. So following these rules will go a long way to increasing your score. Now, this lesson is not to focus on the introduction or the conclusion, as we have already created videos for these. I mentioned that before. So that's the end of this lesson. If you would like writing classes with myself, you can do so either by correspondence. You can write essays and I will correct them, give you advice, and tell you where your structures need to be changed, and basically guide you to improving your essays. All you have to do is either visit our website and contact us, or you can look at our rates. We have a rates page, and look at the costs for our writing correspondence. I think you'll find that cost is quite reasonable. So please get in touch with us and I can help you, we can help you to improve the quality of your essays. Thank you, and see you in the next video.